Welcome to the From Lab to Patient, Garage to Market podcast with your host, Phil Crowley. In each episode, we will discuss professionals serving the tech startup market and the various issues of importance to those companies. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, CrowleyLawLLC.com. Now here's the host of From Lab to Patient, Garage to Market, Phil Crowley.
Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining our podcast today. You know, we look to bring you leaders in the life sciences, technology, and related areas who can talk about their perspectives on developments in this area, mistakes to avoid, issues to focus on, opportunities to seize, to demystify the process of taking your great ideas from the laboratory to the patient's bedside, or from the garage or dining room table to the marketplace. Today, I'm delighted to have with me Bob Michie, who's the founder and CEO of MetroMSP. It's a full-service managed IT servicer covering IT services, cloud computing, and network security. In this area of network hacking and cyber risk, Bob and his colleagues have a major part to play in keeping the IT infrastructure of companies safe. Bob, welcome.
Thanks. I'm grateful to be here.
Please tell us a bit about your background and the pathway that led you to your current line of work.
That's funny. I've been doing cyber before it was actually called cyber. I figured out that back when I was at NJIT in the 80s, I was actually involved in the internet worm, the Morris Internet Worm, back in '84, and I did the breach response for that for the campus. And but so for us, I've evolved and really always had a technology focus and on a security side too.
So you were really one of the pioneers in terms of cybersecurity and cyber risk, and have, I guess, the scars to prove that. What are some other examples of work you've done to help companies?
So we've done a lot of work in the, obviously I did a lot of work initially in the education space when I was there, but I moved on. I was in Digital Equipment Corporation. We were actually doing some of the first implementations of host-based firewalls for companies. That was basically the same time that Cisco was coming out. So I've been working with this stuff for years. And where else have we worked? Oh God, Toys R Us. I was responsible for internet security out there and bringing ToysRUs.com online. And lately, it's been really focusing on more of the professional services areas in New Jersey. Because what I saw was a lot of these smaller companies didn't have the expertise, and they weren't getting the service from companies to really keep them protected. Because the core focus on Metro now really has evolved into cyber protection. The IT stuff, that's easy. People can get that done. A lot of it's self-managing now, but the cyber protections still require a personal touch.
Well, I know you took so much care and attention to the cyber risk area that you're a published author. You have a book, Cybersecurity Minefield. And I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to put all of that knowledge into a book, and also let people know how they can obtain a copy?
Cybersecurity Minefield is a book that's on Amazon. And we created that book with some friends of mine during COVID. Everyone was locked during the lockdown. It's like, okay, well, what else can we do to really help and educate people? So we wrote a book. And it did go to Amazon bestseller status. And we all took different chapters in that book. I dealt primarily on how to know your email's been hacked. And so many people don't realize that one compromised email account in somebody's platform could cost them a lot of money.
Let's pursue that, Bob. How can a company figure out that its email system has been hacked?
So there's always signs. You might not see them right away, but you might start seeing that your inbox seems a little light. You're not getting the emails that you expect to be seeing because the bad guys have logged into your account and put rules on the account that take those emails that come out that they're looking for, like something about an invoice or a payment, and move them over to another folder so they never even show up. And what happens is the bad guys will log into the account, go look for those, and respond on your behalf. We actually had a client that it came to us, and his email had been compromised, and he sent out a retainer agreement. Immediately after sending that retainer agreement, the bad guys saw it. They sent a follow-up to the person. Oh, we just had a banking issue. I forgot. I gave you the old agreement. Here's the new banking information.
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 retainer got paid to the wrong account.
Wow.
And this client had cyber insurance. That they were a 8-person. It was an 8-person online Office 365 environment. The forensic he had in cyber insurance, and he contacted the insurance company, and that initiated a forensic analysis of it because it's business email compromise. That's when the bad guys get into your account as you.
Right.
And the forensic analysis for that was $35,000.
Was that covered by insurance?
The insurance covered that as part of the policy. He still had a $10,000 deductible on the policy, so he was still out what he lost on the retainer. But at least he had peace of mind of knowing that the bad guys weren't there anymore, and how they and I think in that case they even determined how they got in. And 90% of the email compromises we see people getting in, it's successful phishing attempts. So people are logging into a fake email, they're clicking on a link that's in an email, going to another site, putting in their credentials, and now the bad guys are in.
I see. So it's really more phishing attempts rather than using bots or some kind of technology methodology in order to compromise security of the email system. How do you protect against that?
The number one thing we can do to protect people on the email compromise is really education. Train the people on what to look for. Train them on the mindset of what they should be doing. Just because they get an email, they shouldn't necessarily be clicking on it. I actually did I wrote a weird LinkedIn article a couple months ago about how a Diet Coke coupon could compromise a network. And, you send out enough fake email and get people to click. Oh, free Diet Coke! I can click on that. Well, now I got more information just by clicking on it. There's a bunch of information that vulnerabilities that can happen when people click on links, and most of the time people don't even realize anything happened. We had a law firm. He was working with one of the county prosecutor's office. He was expecting an email. He got an email. Unfortunately, the county's prosecutor's email account had been compromised. So he clicked on what he thought was for discovery data and put in his credentials. And over the next 10 hours, the bad guys exfiltrated, I think it was 40,000 emails from his account.
Oh, my goodness. And
that kicks in and out. Now we have to go in and analyze to see what they got. Because, as an attorney, you've got a little bit of confidential information sitting in your email, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So, and then, we have to go prove, if we can't prove what they took, we have to assume everything that person has access to got compromised. So that's why it's really important to have third-party logging and analysis stuff bolted onto additional platforms so that we can go in and figure out what happened.
So the third-party tools, are they means of determining who's been into the system and what they've accessed?
Yes. Well, so it's actually called our SIEM platform, SEIM. it's actually an external logging platform with analysis built into it, so that it connects up to it. Ideally, I wanted to pull data from everywhere your a client's environment works, on the desktops, on the cloud, on their Office 365, or in their G Suite. We take all that data and put it together. And now now the security team can go back and analyze what happened. And we actually do that through real time now, but also if we had to do forensically, we store that for, could be anywhere from 90 days to over a year. In fact, some of the new legislation that's out there, depending on what regulations you need to be compliant with, you might have to retain all that logging for a year.
And the logging permits you to identify at least, is it which people have logged in, or does it?
In some cases, the logging goes really deep as to, you can say, who logged in, where were they, what did they do when they were there, in an Office 365 environment, for example, if they're logged in through the web interface, what mail did they delete? What mail did they forward? What kind of things changed? Because when the bad guys are in the environment, they're trying to get there to stay forever. And when we went through the logs for that law firm I was talking about, it turns out the bad guys actually did install applications into the cloud, into the Microsoft cloud environment that would allow them to get in the future without a password. And the logging showed us that.
Is it expensive to do logging?
It's a few dollars per user per month, typically. And it really depends on how often you want to, how long you need to retain that. And, at the bare minimum, even without compliance, I'm telling people, 30 days. So we've got time to go figure out, and that's really even not enough, because what we're seeing, it's changed recently, but historically, it's been over 6 months that the bad guys were sitting in emails and networks before people even knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that's good.
Go ahead, Bob.
And in that 6 month time frame, what did they do? What else did they access? How do you know? And what other backdoors did they put in? Because here's the thing: once a bad guy gets in, the first thing he tries to do is, what do I have to do to stay in here? Mm-hmm. So they'll go through and they'll try and spread through the network, drop in other stuff, and make sure that they can get back in should something happen.
So if they can get back in without a password, then even some of the techniques that we typically use, like multi-factor authentication, where you put in your credentials, but then you have to have some key from an authenticator app or a text to your cell phone in order to get in. But if there's no password requirement, then everything is fair game.
For that setup, yes, everything would have been fair game. But you bring up a good point. Multi-factor authentication is no longer something that should be optional. Mm-hmm. In fact, a lot of the cyber insurance policies, the business cyber insurance policy, one of the questions on the applications we're seeing is, do you have multi-factor authentication enabled everywhere? That's a tricky question, because what does everywhere mean in an environment these days? Do I have it on my desktop? Do I have it in the cloud? Do I have it on my network devices? And so we want people to be careful when they're answering those questions, that they fill those applications out correctly, because there was a small firm, I guess it's almost 2 years now, called ICS that had a cyber policy. They had a breach, and they were like, "Oh, great, our cyber insurance will cover us." Mm-hmm. Well, Travelers Insurance read the application. They rated the application based on how it was filled out, and ICS checked the box. It said, "We have multi-factor everywhere." Well, they didn't. And when they did the forensic analysis, they proved that, Travelers proved that it didn't. They denied the claim, $1.5 million claim. They denied it. But what's worse is they denied it in court. They took it it went to court, and Travelers actually threatened ICS with insurance fraud.
Right. So you
because
have to be very careful in filling out those forms.
yeah, people don't think about an insurance form, but at its root, it's a contract.
Right.
And in some cases, we've seen cases where the insurance rep themselves filled out the form and handed it to the client and said, sign it,
Mm-hmm.
because they know the boxes to check to get the good ratings.
I
So,
see.
and what's happening now with data breaches is that insurance companies are doing more investigations, and the number of class action suits from data breaches year to date is double what it was all last year at this point.
Right. Let me pause here for just a minute, and we'll get back to that particular aspect of the risks of lacking a solid cybersecurity program. I just wanted to introduce our viewers to Crowley Law. We are a boutique law firm of experienced lawyers who are really passionate about helping innovators in the life sciences and technology avoid being taken advantage of as they pursue their dreams, taking great ideas from the laboratory bench to the patient's bedside or from the garage to the marketplace, with a view towards using technology to improve the lives of thousands or even millions of people. I'm a former research physicist who decided I wanted to have a more direct way in helping people, and that's why I became a lawyer. So as a former researcher, I have a soft spot in my heart for people who are innovators, because I know how difficult it is to do the work that you do. And as a corporate lawyer, I also understand how difficult it is to take great ideas, even the greatest ideas, from the lab to the marketplace. There are many minefields and difficulties. So I invite you to take a look at our website, crowleylawllc.com, where we have a wealth of free resources. And in addition, I'd urge you to go out to Amazon and look for my book. If you look for me, Philip P. Crowley, you will find Avoid Startup Failure. Learn the top 10 causes of failure for technology startups and how to turn them to your advantage. And I hope you get a lot out of the book if you go out and take a look at it. And just remember that when you have questions in these areas, we're here to help. Now, Bob, let's get back to this issue with respect to lawyers ginning up class actions. That sounds like something that could be extremely expensive for a company that has thousands or hundreds of thousands of records that may have been compromised.
Yeah, it's the class action suits are going out. There's companies out there. In fact, there's a law firm not too far from here that sent out their mandatory breach notices. These are notices that you have to send out to people's data who's been compromised, and the breach notices were answered with a class action suit to the law firm claiming negligence. And now what's happening with all these other lawsuits from this year is, independent of specific regulations for that the company might have based on the industry, the lawyers are now quoting FTC, not the FTC safeguard, FTC Section 5 requirements, and it just says protect customer data. So so these guys are suing on behalf. It's not the FTC coming down; it's the law firm. The lawyers starting this action that you didn't take adequate steps to protect the data, and now it's putting companies that were victims. They're turning them into defendants at that point, and now you have to instead of just dealing with recovery if it's a ransomware attack or something like that, now you're going into defense mode. And that's one of the things that we're working on right now with clients is gathering that documentation, have a process in place so that when something like that happens, we can share the incident response plan. We can share where all our training records or the documentation proving that we did what was reasonable. I mean, I can't say, I can't go into the client and say, you'll never have a breach. It's not going to happen. I can't keep people from clicking on stuff, for one thing. Breaches happen. We've had people sitting in the same room that have wired money away based on an email when they didn't turn around and talk to each other.
Wow. That's kind of shocking. But, one tip that I have heard, particularly with respect to the incident response plan, is don't leave that only on your network. Print out a copy, because if your network goes down, there goes your incident response plan as well.
Absolutely. In fact, the SAFE system we're putting together, which actually does have that incident response plan sitting out on our cloud servers in their secured in their environment should something happen. And we also put training and other documentation out there so that when an incident happens, you're not scrambling, because you will miss things if you're not thinking straight, because you get into crisis mode.
Right.
Even simple things that today is like, what are the phone numbers that I have to call? How am I calling when there's an incident? I'm calling my lawyer. I'm calling the IT guys first.
Right.
Ideally, I tell people, if you think something's active, call us, but call the lawyer next, because you need a breach coach.
Right. And some of the insurance companies I know have teams that will provide coaching, provide training for staffs, and help companies prepare themselves for a breach if and when it happens.
Absolutely.
We've heard a lot about artificial intelligence. How does that impact cybersecurity, Bob?
The AI and the automation pieces are making it so scary. There's good, bad. There's good AI. There's bad AI. We're using a lot of AI internally today to go review those logs, look for anomalies that aren't being seen, or correlate data across multiple clients. In fact, our security team actually used AI to correlate data against multiple, like over 100 companies, and actually found some bad guys operating in the U.S. that no one knew about because of this. So that's a classic good use of AI. And then we get the bad use. It's really good at creating phishing campaigns, targeted phishing campaigns, because now the AIs can go out and reach out into the internet. They can go search for Phil and search for you online, find things that you like, build an ideal profile for you, and then craft an email with something that you'll click on. It just had, emails just have to be a little bit customized and a little bit unique to interesting for someone to actually click on it. And after that, it's game over. We actually have we use an assessment process with clients and prospects, where we'll get on what we call a 26-minute phone call. It's a mini pen test, and we'll take them through some questions, and then during that call, I will send you a link. Now, we always tell people not to click on links, but this is going to simulate what would happen if a bad guy, if one of your employees clicked on a link, because I can guarantee that I can send an email that somebody will eventually click on.
Right.
So when we do that, it goes through and analyzes the network just because you clicked on the link. 99 times out of 100, we find out that the firewall is misconfigured and it's able to download malware. And probably about 85% of the time, we actually recover passwords, usually banking passwords, because they clicked on the link. So, that's one of the things that we can actually help people with, is really helping them assess that the tools they have in place work, but you really need to know it.
I guess the human being is the weak link in that chain of protection for the
Yeah,
company.
exactly. There's no one product you can install to be cyber safe. It's not
Mhm.
there, except maybe pull the plug and sit at your desk.
That's right, but that won't generate the income and won't generate further development of our company's technologies.
And then
Um,
the other thing about AI is, they've got all these development tools that are all turning into AI based. What's going to happen when when it's already happened, when somebody's loaded bad libraries into the AIs that
mhm.
recommend using one specific tool set that actually has a vulnerability?
Are there
Where
any compendia, Bob, that help you as an IT professional understand which are the safe algorithms and tools to use and which are not safe? And should you just stick with Microsoft and Apple and the leading suppliers? And what are some of the considerations that you have to undertake as an IT professional?
So one of the major considerations I've got in helping clients understand what their AI risks are
Mhm.
is there's a really good chance, based on some of the studies, that 70% of employees are using AI tools today without the business knowing,
Mhm.
because they're using them because they are productive, but they don't want to say they're using them. And that's a huge risk to the business, because these guys are using, for the most part, we're seeing that the employees are using free tools,
Mhm.
ChatGPT free, Claude free. I don't care which one. Pick the name, but
Right.
just like Facebook, you become the product. So the data that they're loading into these platforms is being used to train the models. There's already been cases out there where I don't remember the software company, but software developing companies, like I think it might have been Sony, developers are uploading code snippets for debugging purposes. Well, their source code got out because of it.
Mhm.
It's a data loss issue, of a data privacy issue. Is like, well, what would happen if someone took your QuickBooks financials and loaded it up into ChatGPT, because it generates some really nice business graphics from all that data?
Right.
Well, do you really want the public to see all that data? So we really want to see people. I want people using private data models through ChatGPT or Copilot, but I really want to look at those terms of service. Let's make sure that that it's private and you're not training anybody else's model with you putting your data in it.
All right. Well, at this point, Bob, I'd like you to think of one or perhaps two key tips that you can give to our viewers to help them navigate the cybersecurity, cyber risk area, and including, how best to deal with artificial intelligence.
So let me hit the artificial one first. Create a policy. You can find them online. If you contact me, I can give you a copy of them. But have a policy for your employees on what the acceptable use is for AI. You know, and and in that acceptable use policy, you want to make sure that you've got that private data model. You don't want them using everything under the sun that's free.
Mhm.
And I got
All
sidetracked.
right.
What was the other?
Well,
Oh,
I note that also you've got a very useful free book on your website, 15 Ways to Protect Your Business from Cyber Threats, which you can
yep.
get at Bob's website, https:// it's the number 15 ways.metromsp.com, which kind of multiplies by 15 the tips that Bob was able to give you with respect to cybersecurity and cyber risk.
Absolutely. And I'm going to throw out one more, because I do, you can get the book on Amazon, but if someone wants to schedule a cyber strategy call, I'll do those anytime. you just go to info.metromsp.com, and we can hop on a strategy call. And after you pick a time, the ebook for this is there and ready for you to read.
Boy, that's great, Bob. Bob, thanks so much for joining us today. These are issues that impact or will impact virtually every company. I hope our viewers have enjoyed the discussion as well. If you have a chance, please visit Bob's website, visit our website, CrowleyLawLLC.com, for a library of free resources. And remember, we're here to help. Thanks so much. If you'd enjoyed the discussion, please subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any of these discussions with leaders in technology, life sciences, and other areas of innovation. Thanks so much.
You've been tuning into the From Lab to Patient, Garage to Market podcast with your host, Phil Crowley. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, CrowleyLawLLC.com. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe, like, leave a positive review, and share with others.